All right, y'all. Well, welcome to the show, episode 26 of Harrison Talks Pod. I hope you are doing well. I'm recording this on a Tuesday morning in Thailand or a Monday evening back in America, and I missed all of the last games of the season. A small vent before I start and get ready. Let me turn myself down just a bit. Why did we have 15 games on the last day? I guess so that everyone plays in the last day and that's fair leading into the tournament. But then why do we have a day off and then before that and then have 15 games on that day? I hope NBA figures out the scheduling at some point and realizes that, hey, there's people like me that want to watch all of the games. And when you put 15 games on in one day, and then you put it on a Saturday or a Sunday afternoon, rather, where I can't watch any of them, it's very difficult. So I spent yesterday catching up because I was I was sleeping during that time or working during all those games. And we did predictions last week and preferences of what I wanted to see and what I thought we would see, and I was pretty wrong about those. So let's look at the bracket. The play-in starts tomorrow, but I had to get this episode out before then. I had to get some content out. We did predictions last week. Do some predictions this week. This week, let's actually talk about the real play-in tournament, and I'll give my predictions on that. And then that'll lead us to the first round of the NBA playoffs. So let's go in order here. Tomorrow we have the 7-8 matchups. So, first one, let's start with the East and let's start with the Hawks versus the Magic. Magic are the seventh seed and ended up one game above the Hawks at 43 and 38. Pretty good record for the Eastern Conference for an eighth seed, I have to say. And my prediction is that Orlando wins this one. My prediction for this one, it's the Paulo Banchero breakout game. He's looked fantastic coming off of his injury, has looked fantastic in 2025, was out the last 2 games, so should be rested going into this, and I expect him to be the best player on the floor for this game. Hawks have been very good this season and have had a lot of nice surprises. I think we'll be talking about them a lot in the off season about what decisions they make. I wish they had more of a chance in the Eastern Conference, but we're going to talk about how the Eastern Conference has gotten a lot better. Consistency is the other part too. I think the Magic could be more consistent in this game, could dictate their offense a little bit better, could possibly play better defense. But this will be a great defensive matchup in the play-in. So, I might be wrong on this one. I think these are two really good teams for play-in teams. Probably like the rest of them, but we're starting with a matchup that I think would be a great first round matchup as well. But hey, that's one of the reasons why the play-in is a good thing in my opinion. But hey, Trey Young has the capability of being the best player on the floor pretty much any night, and that's where I might be wrong. Trey Young could have a monster performance, and Dyson Daniels and the other role players on the Hawks will have a great game as well. I won't ruin my other predictions for the Hawks. They'll be coming up then in the next game, I'll just say. So let's see where they go rolling ahead. The 7-8 matchup in the West, which I was way wrong about, is the Warriors 7 seed and the Grizzlies 8 seed. They tied in the conference. Yes, 48 and 34. Wow. And yeah, I think this is the best Western Conference we've ever seen, at least in my lifetime. And I've been saying that for a while, but hey, 2 games separated 3 and 8, 4 games separated 2 and 8. It came down to the last game, and for the Warriors, it came down to an overtime game yesterday against the Clippers, where the Clippers won, and the Clippers are now in 5th. Had they lost, they would still be in 5th, yes, but the Warriors would have moved up out of the play-in. So, we'll see if that ends up being bad for the Warriors, because that overtime game could have led to this whole not rebuild of the season, but coming back after the Butler trade and of course being a lot better. But my prediction is that the Warriors win this one. Now I had to look up and make sure what year this was. I get kind of lost with the play in history. Eventually, maybe after this year, we start taking statistics a little bit better because it'll be 5 or let's say 6 years of the play-in. It was different in 2020, but 2021, uh, this is a rematch of a 2021 play-in game. 2021, Lakers beat the Warriors. That was the LeBron James, 3 rims, can't see anything game. And then the Warriors played Memphis in the next game, and then Memphis defeated them to move on as the 8 seed. Warriors, despite their struggles, I think Jimmy Butler is going to be the X factor in this. And this is a matchup of superstars, uh, old, older, younger. And I think Memphis is going to have a great chance with this. I'm going to give a slight edge to the Warriors. I think the Warriors, even though the Grizzlies have looked good the second half of the season, I think the Warriors, since the trade deadline, have been better slightly. Not sure about this one. I think it's going to be close. I hope it's close. I hope it's competitive, but I think Warriors will have more star power. Of course, they have Steph Curry, who at any night we know can be the best player, by far the best offensive player. Um, if he chooses to be, if he wants to be. And I think the Warriors do have slightly better depth. Depth has been a concern with the Warriors post 2022 and before that, but that might be where I'm wrong on this. Where Memphis is a younger team, if they can play at their own pace and they can play fast, I'll say I think this could be well, not even an upset necessarily because they tied in the standings. But if you want to call it a slight upset, then yes, I think this game is going to be very close. I'm going with the Warriors, and we're moving on. And then the next day, we have the 9-10 games, and then we'll get into the last days where we see who the Grizzlies and the Hawks are playing. We have the Miami Heat number 9 seed. I'm sorry, Chicago Bulls 9 seed, Miami Heat 10 seed. I messed up this graphic. And let's see, the Bulls finished 2 games ahead of the Heat at 39 and 43. Yeah, still really good for a 9 seed in my opinion. And I'm taking a slight upset on this one. I think Miami wins this one based on the Eric Spoelstra factor. I think Eric Spoelstra's leadership, their team experience, their playoff experience, despite losing Jimmy Butler and despite being a younger team, perhaps in comparison to other Miami Heat years, I'm taking the Miami Heat for this one. I've liked the way they've played this last month or so, and I think, well, I don't know if we'll ever see the Heat ever do like a full rebuild. I think they're in a great spot after the Jimmy Butler trade, not to compete for a championship, but I think they're going to beat the young core of the Bulls, who I've been very happy to watch this past month because they were kind of a team that I was slacking on watching. I think the Bulls have finally embraced that rebuild, which myself, a lot of others have been asking for years. And they ended up with someone like Josh Giddey in a trade where, although he's not a superstar to rebuild around, he is a very solid player. So solid that he was second in triple doubles in franchise history next to Michael Jordan. So there we go. I could be wrong with this one for sure. Chicago, lots of young talent. I think the depth is better in Miami, but I think the Bulls can pull it off. I don't really have much else to say for this one. So let's move ahead. Hey, in the comments, let me know what you think about these because if you think I'm wrong, just be like, you're totally wrong in all of this. Now, let's do the fun one. Let's do one of the fun ones that we have for today. Sacramento Kings, number 9. I messed up this graphic also. Versus the Dallas Mavericks at number 10. So I'll just say it like that. Mentioned last week, Mavericks, the players, I don't know. But I bet the franchise was hoping to skip this play-in game. And that's quite a contrast to 2 years ago when they sat their starters the last game and gave up on making the play-in just to keep their draft capital. Mavericks ended up the 10 seed at 39 and 43. They were 3 games above the Suns. So it wasn't even really close to finish off the season. Anthony Davis came back. So perhaps the plan was to be productive, not focus on the draft or anything. I don't even know what the late first round looks like in the draft. Don't ask me. And I guess compete in this game, and they are just a game below the Kings. I think this is a top 4 team in the West if they keep Luca and everyone stays healthy. But yeah, that's the one time I'll bring it up today. Hopefully, let's go for upset. Hey, why not? Let's go for slight upset. Again, the Kings are only like 1 game better. They were, in my opinion, the second most upsetting team in the West this season. Let's go with Dallas. And I'm going to be a bit boring again and just say that I think Anthony Davis is playing the best basketball of his career. Perhaps that is 17, 18 when he goes back to New Orleans. But I think this has been the best stretch of basketball if you take out just the injuries that he's had. And that's why Dallas got in their heads and said, "This is our guy. This is who we want." It's gonna be perhaps the most intriguing matchup of this tournament. Anthony Davis came off a huge game. I think the AD Sabonis matchup is going to be the one to watch in this game, and I think Dallas has enough. I think they've shown me that they play with a lot of heart, and they were showing that after the Luka trade, before the Kyrie injury, and Kyrie got injured, of course. But this team has enough to beat the Kings. Again, if they move on, they're the 8 seed. Are they going anywhere? No, like they're just not. But I think they played well against the Kings during the season. Did they have a match? I forget if they had a matchup with AD against them. I didn't write it down, but I forget now. But anyways, let's say Mavericks win. Mavericks move on then to play the Grizzlies. And why I might be wrong, I think the Kings could disrupt the rhythm of Dallas's offense and disrupt the rhythm of Anthony Davis. We'll see what that rhythm looks like. I honestly have not been watching the Mavericks as closely since the trade, been a bit angry, upset about all of that. I think that's the same for lots of people. All right, I've been rambling, so let's do this last set of playing games just a little bit quicker, I think. All right, lots of red teams in the East. If we don't stop there. Um, Hawks. This is right, isn't it? 8, 10, 8, 9, 10, 9, 10. Yes, I got lost with the red teams. Hawks defeat Miami Heat, I think. After Miami gets a surprise win over the Chicago Bulls in the first game, I'm gonna say surprise game. The Hawks just have more firepower in this one, and this is where Miami Heat's firepower. There we go. Yeah, heat fire. That's where it runs out and Heat will see you in the off season to see whatever it is that you are going to do. This one I'm just gonna put as scoring depth. Let's not make it too complicated. Let's say that Trey Young is the best player in this game, and the Hawks just have more scoring depth to secure this win. I do think they are a better team. I give them a better edge to this. They've had more consistency throughout this season and beyond this season as well. So that's my main reason. Miami has the experience. Miami might have the better defense in this game, but I think Atlanta has better offense, but I'm not sure. Defense, I think, is where Miami is going to win this game if they do win this game. And even without Jimmy Butler, whenever I see the Heat in anything, it's hard to count them out like 100%. So I have lots of doubts of my predictions, but hey, I'm here just trying to have fun of all of y'all. So, all right. And then I'm not done with upsets just yet, because this one will be an upset then. Let's pick the Dallas Mavericks to just move on. And let's have fun with this because I have Mavericks fans in my life that don't even want to be in this situation. What if they just make it all the way to the first round? And I say what if because it's not that crazy to think about. How far down? Oh, it was pretty far. 9 games. 9 games separate these teams. But again, I think this comes down to who can have the best performance. And I think on both ends, offense and defense, Anthony Davis has that potential to be the best performer. And I'll say it again, that X factor for the Mavericks. And I think without Anthony Davis, there's not really a good chance. So let's have fun and let's just say Memphis doesn't make it out of the play-in. Sorry, Memphis fans. Support you guys a lot. I've been to a lot of your hometown games. So St. Louis guy, home from home is what I consider it to be. But let's say Mavericks move on and then they have to play a team that had a historic season. Of course, Memphis is gritty. John Morant could be the best player on the court, so I could be wrong. I probably am wrong. 9 games better, and we're better in the season series. So, yeah, just let me have fun with this one. Just let me have fun. All right. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back with the Eastern Conference first round. All right, and I want to step up my predictions for this first round. So I'm going to give you the winners, but I also have to give you how many games it's going to be. And then I can have fun and look back and see how correct I was. I will most likely not look back too much, but if I choose to. Let's start then with the games that we are 100% sure about, the 4, 5, and 3, 6 matchups. And we're starting with the East. So the 4, 5 matchup, 4 being the Pacers, 5 being the Bucks. And let me check here. Pacers ended at 50 and 32, which is incredible. They were 10 and 15 at one point during the season, had a winning record going into the All-Star break, and ended with 50 wins this season. 2 games above the Bucks, and my prediction is that the Pacers win in 6 games. Now, I'm going to be biased here. You've heard me talk about this before. You know where I'm going with this. I want to see the Pacers make a run in the playoffs. I think they're good enough. So I'm not going to ruin my predictions with my own biases, but I do want to see them win because they're just the one team I think we're not talking about enough, and a team that is very capable just had a slow start and a slow start from their star player this season. Not too much of a step back though, I don't think. Led the league in assists last season. Tyrese Halliburton had slightly lower offense this year, but hey, let's get into why I think they can win. Pacers are first in pace, which is fitting for their name, and second in offense. And I use the word dictate a lot these past 2 episodes, but if they can dictate their own offense, and I think they have the depth, I think they have the star player, I think they have the right coach who also is defensive minded as well to lead them past this series. Now, of course, I could be wrong because on the other end, we got a lot of star power. We got a lot of motivation. We got a lot of really nice storylines over in Milwaukee. Of course, between Giannis and Dame, uh, who, in my opinion, are playing the best basketball together they have in these past 2 seasons that they've been together, of course they could win. And of course, they can make it into a short series and win as well. But I'm going with Halliburton, Rick Carlisle, and the Indiana Pacers for this one. And uh, if they can win a playoff series, I just hope that um, it can be remembered as a successful season, and we can remember to pay attention a little bit more to the Pacers. So, tempo dictates this one. But if we're going with tempo, I'm going Pacers. If we're going with superstars and just the need to win. I know Damian Lillard got a in-season tournament championship, but it's not what we're talking about. So let's give the slight edge to the Pacers. Next one we know about. Also talking about some Midwest pride, the Pistons and the 6 seed, and the Knicks in the 3 seed. Okay, so we did predict this one correctly last week, uh, which was easy. I think Pistons were out of the play-in at that point. Knicks were not going to be out of the 3 seed. Well, were most like they were already in the 3 seed at that point, and they kept that position. But quick summary of that: Knicks have a better record than last season, but they finished second in the East last season. Pistons, as we know, had that historic 15 and 67 record last season, which was a franchise worst, and got 29 extra wins this season, way above the projection. And they made it out of the play-in. So not only did they make the playoffs, they made it all the way out of the play-in into the sixth seed. And allow me to live, allow me to have fun with this one. Let's give an upset. Let's not stop having fun with this one unless you're a Knicks fan. Then it's different. But if you're a Midwest guy like me, if you're someone who's just an NBA fan at its core, although I'm showing a lot of opinions this episode, let's say Pistons beat the Knicks. I'm going with 5 games. Yeah, I'm going for quite. This is my boldest pick by far. They've won 3 in a row against the Knicks. They were 3-1 on the season series. Before the 3 wins in a row, Pistons lost 14 straight to the Knicks. Amazing. So I think this is a bad matchup for the Knicks. Pistons are going to play hard. They're going to bang with them. They're going to play physically. They're going to play aggressively. They're going to play like the younger team. Cade Cunningham is on his way. Jalen Brunson is there. Jalen Brunson for the New York Knicks is a superstar. Cade Cunningham is like right there. Does he get all NBA this season? Want to know. But this is by far his best season. I know there's been debates on whether he should get most improved player. That's for a whole different episode. Cade Cunningham was 25, 6, and 6 against the Knicks this season. I think we can see a huge series for him, and has the potential of just being the best offensive player for this. But if Jalen Brunson heats up, uh, he had 33 or more points in 3 of his 4 games against Detroit. Had a lot of big scoring matchups against this team. Knicks have a top 10 defense, so if that shows up, then we're not looking at an upset. We're looking at me being very wrong on all of this. Dying to see the series. I'll be locked in to see the series. Not sure if the Pistons can make it past this point, but I think they have a great chance to win one playoff series and have to be happy about it no matter what. I think even if the Pistons win a playoff game and don't win this series, then we have to look at this season like a success. And shout out to all the Pistons fans that stayed with it. Now, let's do the last 2 series in the East, and this will get into my predictions. So I predicted the Hawks win their second play-in game, which means they play the Cavaliers. So this is our 1-8 matchup. Hawks, they were 2-1 on the Cavaliers in the season series. Very memorable going back to the beginning of the season when Cleveland had not been losing any games at all. I think this was 2 of their first 3 losses or 4. But anyways, came early on. Hawks have a chance, but I'm giving Cleveland this one in 6 games, and I would not be surprised if it was less. I'm giving them 6 because Hawks have played against them quite well. Cleveland has the second best defense in the league. This has been their best season record-wise of any non-LeBron James Cavaliers season, um, and just one of their best seasons in franchise history. Way ahead of schedule, in my opinion, as far as where this team should be. From not making the play-in 2 years ago to finally making the playoffs last season without LeBron James to this historic season where they were top of the East all season long. Uh, anyways, 108.4 points per game, second in the NBA, as we mentioned. If Atlanta stays hot from deep, they were 40.2% in April. If their shooting stays hot, they can win a couple of these games. So, yeah, I'm not giving the Cavaliers the sweep for this one. They, of course, are one of the best teams in the league, but I'll transition to say I don't think they are the best team in the East. I think they're the second best to the Celtics. Let's just move on from there then. So, Hawks have a chance, but I think the luck ends up ending there. And Hawks, see you in the off season because I have lots of questions for you. Magic, I said, win their first play-in game, so they are the 2 seed, and they play the Celtics. This is tough. Celtics, I think just in the end, down the stretch, have been the most deep and the best team again. I said all last season I thought they were the best team, and they ended up winning the championships. I make comparisons to it being kind of like the Spurs, like early 2000s, of where perhaps it wasn't the most exciting and perhaps it felt a little bit more normal than these past seasons of getting new champions every single season. But in the end, best team won. Not sure if they win this year, but I think their star power and depth, despite not having like Jason Tatum not being like a top 3 player, perhaps a top 5, overall as a team, I think they're the best. The other factor would be that the East just got way better since last season as well. Way better, in my opinion. Celtics win this one, of course, and I say they win it in 5 games. They're dominant. They're just dominant team. They are top 5 offense and defense. They have um, every kind of makeup of being a championship team. Orlando won their division, which is kind of unique. They were 41-41, which won the Southeast Division, making them the first 500 or below division winner ever, which was surprising to me because it's happened in like other sports before. Orlando is 24th in 3-point makes, doesn't have the consistent scoring that Boston will have. The Celtics have 6 players averaging double digits this season. Tatum and Brown look locked in. I don't have a reason why I might be wrong on this one. I'll say Orlando takes a home game, but I think Boston is going to dominate this one. All right, let me take one more small break. I'll be back with the 4 Western Conference matchups. All right, and we head over to the West, and let's do the ones, the 4, 5, 3, 6 that we for sure know. And this one is going to be super difficult. So, Clippers all the way up in the 5 seed against the Nuggets. In the 4 seed, Nuggets, of course, fired their coach recently and have had a lot more news than I thought we would hear about differences and communication breakdowns or disagreements with the head coach and Nuggets players. But anyways, this one's tough. I'm going Nuggets in 7 games. But the Clippers have perhaps been the best team in the league this past month and a half. Since March 5th, they're 18-3. And they just beat the Warriors in their overtime game yesterday to lock up the 5th seed. Although, again, I think they would have locked it up anyways. Yes. But they sent Warriors into the play in. So that was consequential, and their only losses have come against like the Thunder, the Cavaliers. So they've only lost against top teams that they would see in the playoffs if they make it. So Clippers, a bit shocked, honestly, just how good they've looked. If they started the season like this, I'm not as surprised. But the inconsistency, the availability is something that we talk about all the time with the Clippers to the point where it gets a bit boring. So, yeah, let's move ahead then. This, I think, is the best series that we see in the first round. I think Clippers overperformed and overshot getting into the 5 seed. I think the Nuggets are better than the 4 seed in the West. They just happen to be in this like best conference of all time, perhaps. Jokic, perhaps the best season that he's had, and might not win an MVP, even though it's one of the best or the best seasons that he's had. Can't say anything. I can't say anything more about him. I mean, 28, 12, and 9 on the season. If he's the best player in the series, then none of us are surprised by that. If the Nuggets turn this into a shorter series, I don't think anyone is surprised about that. On the other end, if the Clippers win this series, we can't be shocked because of everything that we've said. 18-3 since March 5th. Um, Kawhi and James Harden had 72 points yesterday on 62% shooting against the Warriors, against a team that was fighting to be in the playoffs and not in the play-in. So this is a team that is not going to have problems under pressure. I mean, you got Kawhi Leonard on that team, but still going to give slight edge to the Nuggets. I cannot wait for the series to start. I just so excited to see this first round matchup. All right. So, I can't remember if I predicted that one correctly. I don't think no, I did not. This one I didn't predict either. Timberwolves made it out of the play-in. So they are 6th, and they will play the Lakers, who are 3rd. I say Lakers defeat the Timberwolves in 5 games. Lakers beat the Timberwolves 111 to 102. Post Luca trade in that matchup, Luca and LeBron had 59 points that night. Luca averages 29.6 points against the Timberwolves in his career. And while the Timberwolves have size with Bear and Julius Randle. And while they have, of course, their young superstar with Anthony Edwards, I think the Lakers are just too much for the Timberwolves. And I think this matchup favors the Lakers a lot more than the Timberwolves. If LeBron James and Luka are healthy, which I think they are, LeBron James did not play the last game. Of course, nothing did, and had I think it was a flare up. I know he's been dealing with a groin injury, so I expect them though to come into the series healthy, and I think between those two huge superstars and their they're not the best depth in the league, but certainly have the ability to have one star on the floor at all times. They have the ability to play smaller, faster lineups. They have the ability to put Jackson Hayes on the floor and try to contain the Timberwolves' bigger lineups. I think this is a shorter series for the Lakers. I think they got lucky getting the Timberwolves and not getting a team like the Warriors in the first round, and was shocked to hear that this is LeBron's 24th or 25th team matchup in the playoffs in his career. So almost every team he's matched up against. That's pretty amazing. Size and versatility could help the Timberwolves, but I still got to give a pretty large edge to the Lakers, who just don't think about it too much. With Luka Doncic, they're better. We could play the what if of, you know, would they be in the same spot had it not made the trade and had they still had Anthony Davis, who we see right here, playing some of the best basketball he's played. They could still be out of the play in that top four in the West, but they're better with Luca. Come on, come on. All right. So 10 versus 1, I predicted. Um, I'm probably wrong, but let's have fun with it. And I'm not gonna go beyond having too much fun. The Thunder, 68 wins on the season. They win this matchup easily. So let's say the Thunder defeat the Mavericks in 5 games. All right. I'm not going with any kind of sweeps. Am I? No. I'm not going for any sweeps in the first round. So let's say Anthony Davis gets a game at home against the Thunder and just has a huge game, but the Thunder are too much and they win everything else. One of the top 15 records of all time for the Thunder this season. SGA, Holmgren, Lou Dort, J Dub. Uh, one of the best lineups and depths in the league, perhaps the best depth in the Western Conference. The Mavs, they rested their last couple of games. Got blown out by Memphis. They got swept by the Kings. I believe Anthony Davis has not played a game as a Maverick against the Thunder. Yeah, okay. So let's just move on. I'm giving the Mavericks 1 game for this, but the Thunder are just way too good, and I think the Thunder are gonna be my pick for the West overall in this. So, all right. And then my other matchup, 2-7, is also a lot of fun then. The Warriors, I said, get the first play-in game. So they'll be 7th seed and they'll face off against the Rockets. Let's go with an upset. Let's go with the upset. I don't really care too much about this one. I don't. We've all seen a lot of Warriors basketball. It's an interesting storyline either way, though. Let's say Warriors defeat the Rockets in 6 games. Again, they came off an overtime loss to the Clippers, but Curry had 33 points in that game. They'll be in a must-win game against Memphis in the play-in. The Rockets don't have playoff reps, so it's a very unique matchup if this is what we get. We get uh, the Warriors, who have old superstars with tons of championship experience that have 4 rings. You have the Warriors that have a superstar that has no championships, but a lot of playoff experience in Jimmy Butler. And then on the other end, you have the Rockets, who, if it's not the Pistons, it's the Rockets for who overachieved the most this season, from not making the playoffs last season to being the 2 seed. Coaching matters in the NBA for sure. Uh, Rockets are good enough to beat the Warriors. Rockets might be the better team in this series, but I'm going the new look Jimmy Butler Warriors to defeat the Rockets. We'll get some playoff Jimmy performances. We'll get some huge Steph Curry performances. I know the narrative has been set up for Draymond Green to win Defensive Player of the Year. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen, but again, we'll save the accolades and everything for a future episode. So Warriors have that DNA. If the Warriors are in it as a seed, as an 8-7 seed, I don't think it matters. You have to consider their chances at any point. So there we go. There is my biggest upset that I'm choosing. I promise that I'm taking my opinions out. I do think this is a 6 or 7 game series, no matter what. Where does that lead us into the next round? We'll just leave it there because I might be back this week talking about the play-in. If not, I'll be back next week to talk about the first round. We'll just see how the schedule goes, trying to put out some extra content during the playoffs. But hey, if not, we still do these weekly Monday episodes. I forget what time it is back in America. I hope you all have a great day. I hope you guys enjoyed the play in as much as I will. And thank you so much for listening. Like, subscribe, share the podcast with people that you like basketball as well. I'm trying to grow this channel organically, but hey, not going to waste your time. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.